They are not aliens. They are the offspring of the angels which cast from heaven, which Scripture tells us bred themselves with humans and created a race of giants that encompassed the earth and are set up themselves as kings over mankind. There's no evidence that life can arise from non-life on this planet. None. There is not one instance known to mankind whereby new information has ever entered the genome of any creature. Yeah, where's your God now, Sporty? Now think carefully about what I'm about to say, Sporty. No, Sporty.
Yes, Sporty.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat?
Chapter 3. A Black Hole of Incompetence. NephilimFree is not just stupid, uneducated, a liar, or arrogant. He is also incompetent to the point of being unable to function. It is no wonder he has not had real employment for quite some time and preferred living off his wife's disability checks. He likes to fake it though. He speaks in reverence to complicated natural processes and uses a lot of big words to try to sound intelligent. The problem is, he does not know what any of them mean.
See, during embryonic development, the genes of an organism are turned on and off in an incredible and amazing orchestral organization of on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off.
Yeah, right, because apparently genes work like switches and LEDs.
And during embryonic development, the algorithm of the DNA molecule is used to examine that DNA molecule and discern where the start and stop points.
No, you silly sham of a man. An algorithm is not some sort of physical entity following a blueprint to know where to find genes to activate and would cease to function if the DNA changed in any way. It is simply a process for completing a task. Algorithms are a very important concept for coders and computer scientists in order to plan the design of computer programs before any actual program begins. However, algorithms have a more layman use as well. A recipe is an algorithm for cooking a meal. You use an algorithm to tie your shoes. DNA transcription is just chemistry in action. Genes are activated in a complex but explainable process in which DNA is broken down into complementary strands. RNA strands are formed that code for at least one gene. What causes this transcription process to stop is not some nebulous DNA replicating algorithm, but codons in the DNA itself that cause the transcription process to start and stop. These strands of messenger RNA are then read by ribosomes to transcribe and assemble proteins. It makes no difference what order the genes are in or if they exist in the fusion of two chromosomes. Ribosomes and transcription bubbles do not act with a final goal in mind like a construction worker. They just act based on their chemical properties. Neph, however, has not the slightest idea how either of these concepts work, not even at the high school level. Nothing exemplifies his inability to function more than the attempted debate with Don Exodus 2. Back in the day, Don Exodus 2 was one of the few elite heavyweight scientifically minded individuals providing creationist debunking content on YouTube. Since 2010, Neph has been pestering people such as Don Exodus 2, Thunderfoot, Arn Ra, even Zomgets Chris, to debate him live with an audience. As is his way, in every video in which he discusses debating an atheist, he prefers to use childish taunts in an effort to goad them into accepting his debate challenges by wounding their pride.
Put up or shut up. Come on. Show your 109,000 subscribers why you're correct and I'm incorrect. Come on, Don Exodus 2, take up the challenge. If you're not afraid, you should debate me.
This all started when, during one of his Skype calls to me, I asked him if he would like to come onto my blog TV channel as a co-host, because I thought it would be amusing to have a public discussion on creationism with him. He initially accepted, and I attempted to schedule it with him using YouTube's old private messaging system. Unfortunately, getting him to agree to a topic and a time was impossible, partly because he could not remember that Pacific Standard Time is earlier than Eastern Standard Time. It all proved pointless because Neph decided a small-time YouTuber like me was not worth his effort. That is when he started making videos challenging high-subscribed YouTube content creators to a debate. The guy is so deluded that he even posted an open debate challenge with a subscriber minimum for the challenger.
Harry Reasoner accepted my offer to debate, but he doesn't have the required subscribers that I set as a prerequisite for the debate. I will debate him, however. Dawn Exodus 2 has agreed to debate me. I received a message from him today. So, Dawn Exodus 2 and I are going to have a debate.
So I was the trigger that started Neph's obsession with issuing debate challenges, and I am truly sorry for that, everyone. Dawn Exodus 2, having been late to become aware of Neph's existence, caught wind of NephilimFree's debate challenge through one of his subscribers' mirror channels of NephilimFree's videos. Dawn Exodus 2 expressed mild interest in accepting Neph's challenge. Somehow, Neph found out about it, and, well, he had an interesting take on this comment.
And on that video, Dawn Exodus 2 left this comment. I'd be down with it. Is that an acceptance of my offer to debate? No. No, that's Dawn Exodus 2 trying to save face. He's afraid to debate me. So he left this comment on an illegally uploaded duplicate of my video so that he can save face. That way he can look like to his atheist evangelist friends that he accepted my offer to debate without actually doing so.
Neph is so deluded, he actually believes with absolute certainty that Dawn Exodus 2 and pretty much everyone else is afraid of debating him, as if treating him like a laughingstock is just an act, and Dawn Exodus 2 is trying to put on a brave face to impress his subscribers.
No, I think Dawn Exodus 2 is really afraid to debate me. That's what this boils down to. So, I don't know. I think he feels like he's bitten off more than he can chew. He got overconfident and he thought, I don't know. He underestimated me or something. I don't know, but anyway, that's how it stands, and that's the truth.
Scheduling and planning the debate proved to be quite an ordeal. It was done mainly over Skype calls and Skype chats. Sometimes it was just Dawn Exodus 2 and NephilimFree. Sometimes there were other participants, such as Thunderfoot, DPR Jones, Andromeda's Wake, QDragon1337, Almighty Atheismo, and me. Every part of these discussions was made needlessly difficult due to Neph's incompetence. Even telling apart the participants proved above NephilimFree's abilities. He had a lot of problems confusing DPR Jones with Thunderfoot and Almighty Atheismo with Dawn Exodus 2. Further hampering the efforts was Neph's pig-headedness. He could not stick to any agreed terms, conditions, or topics, because he could either not remember them properly, or he would be too butthurt to let an atheist decide terms for him. Hours would be spent by us hashing out details only for NephilimFree to go back on everything agreed upon in either a Skype message or, most often, in a video, which he would usually then delete, and then upload a new video in which he would lie about what was agreed upon, as if deleting the videos from YouTube also deleted them from our memory.
Now, he didn't trust Shock of God as a moderator, so DPR Jones, I believe, is going to be the moderator.
And one day later.
We insist on an atheist. I'm willing to do that, but it's not going to be DPR Jones.
And in that same video.
This is the last video I'm going to make on this subject.
And 1 hour later, he puts up another video.
Well, I just watched your latest video, and
damn, God's advice to Nephilim was dripping with sweet contradiction juice, even within the same video.
Because this is only fair. You're trying to set conditions. I want this, and I want that. No, it's got to be this way. Will not broadcast the debate. You will not be logged in anytime to any other channel. You broadcast your audio or video to anywhere else, except on the Blog Talk channel during this debate. Okay. You agree that the subject is creation and evolution.
The biggest points of contention were the location of the debate, the moderator of the debate, and the topic of the debate. Dawn Exodus 2 originally proposed to have NephilimFree on as a co-host to his blog TV channel, He wanted Don Exodus 2 as a call-in guest for Shock of God's blog talk radio show, something Neph was a guest on semi-regularly. Don Exodus 2 tried the compromise and have Neph co-host on Blog TV while simultaneously broadcasting on Shock of God's blog talk radio show. That was acceptable, until it wasn't.
If you want to do it on video where you can use your visual aids, like that's important to you somehow, that's fine. You do it on your blog talk thing at the same time while we're on blog talk radio, on your TV video thing. That's fine with me. I don't care. You can make video of it if you want to. We're going to be doing it on Rich's audio channel.
Several days later.
The debate is on blog talk radio only. Not anywhere else, not simultaneously appearing anywhere else. You agree that you'll make no other media of it except, at the same time, you'll be on Blog Talk Radio only during the debate.
DPR Jones was the initial choice to moderate the debate. NephilimFree accepted him until he didn't.
And so initially I agreed while during our conversation. I said, okay, well, you know what? If it just make you happy and we can go on a debate, then you want to use DPR Jones, go ahead,
2 hours later.
The moderator, I've bent on that, allowed you to have an atheist evolutionist with your personal worldview. I choose Dan Mill 23. He's an atheist and an evolutionist, an intelligent man.
Despite repeated assurances that the part of a debate moderator would amount to little more than a stopwatch with a mouth, NephilimFree reneged on DPR Jones as a moderator because, and I quote, DPR Jones talks about
human ejaculate and sex and sexual practices and uses filthy language in their videos, things like that.
NephilimFree wanted Shock of God to moderate the debate, but the reasons why none of us wanted that horrible smarmy bigot involved are worthy of their own video series. We tried getting him to accept Thunderfoot as the moderator, but NephilimFree went back on that decision as well because Thunderfoot gets excited and stutters too much. Although NephilimFree later lied and claimed that Don Exodus 2 insisted the moderator had to be an atheist, this screenshot from a conversation between Don Exodus 2 and NephilimFree shows that Don Exodus 2 suggested the moderator could be Jesus Freak 777.
I bent originally on the moderator. You insisted it's an atheist, and now you're insisting that it's DPR Jones. You don't want to bend on that. I don't know why. What, do you got some kind of deal going with him? You're trying to promote him or some kind of schmoozing? I don't know. I don't care. I've bent on that. You insist it's an atheist? Okay, fine.
The biggest and most contentious issue was the topic of the debate. A true academic and scientific debate is never on a subject like evolution or Big Bang Theory. Neither is a debate on an argument like evolution versus creation. A debate is a process in which two or more parties formally attempt to arrive at the best answer to a particular question. The question that Don Exodus 2 came up with was, does evolution properly describe life and its diversity? NephilimFree agreed to that, until he didn't. Neph instead decided that the debate should just be a free-for-all about whatever topic he could think of.
Let's do it. Let's talk about phylology and gene transfer, horizontal gene transfer, vertical gene transfer, genetic mutation, random mutations, insertions, deletions, and phylology and embryology, and cosmology, astronomy, paleontology, anthropology, homology, philology, and the fossil record, punctuated equilibria, and all these other things,
And yes, NephilimFree cannot tell the difference between phylogeny, the evolutionary taxonomy of organisms, and philology, the historical development and diversification of languages. The reason I think he wanted the scope of the debate to be everything is something I will go in a later section of this video, but NephilimFree tried to cover from his gaffe by explaining that DNA has linguistic properties, whatever that means, therefore making it a viable topic for the debate. The ironic thing is, philology is actually a topic that can be discussed in an evolutionary context, but not in any way that would help Neph prove his case. The way languages change, diversify, and fade out of existence mirrors biological evolution quite spectacularly. The most amusing thing about the debate, to me, was watching the evolution of Dawn Exodus 2's understanding of NephilimFree. Before the debate challenge, Dawn Exodus 2 was barely aware of NephilimFree. He had no idea the depth of this man's incompetence, insanity, or ignorance. I noticed the change in Dawn Exodus 2's demeanor over the course of a couple of weeks of dealing with Neph.
The title of the debate is, Does the Evidence Support Young Earth Creationism and a Global Flood? Now, some people have asked me, why is there such a broad range? Why discuss everything, as typically scientific debates have a narrow scope of focus so that you can't simply shotgun everything. I suggested to Nephilim that we narrow it down to evolution, that is, Darwin's theory of evolution with natural selection. He agreed to this, and then a little bit later I got a PM from him stating that he changed his mind and now wanted to change the title to Creation, which simply encompasses everything. He stated that he wouldn't debate if that was not the term and not the scope of the debate, and not wanting to let you all down and forgo a show, I stated sure, I'm down for that.
Second thing that happened was the subject. Again, on that first conversation, Nephilim and I agreed the subject would be limited to Darwin's theory of evolution. Why? Because the scope of everything else is too big. He clearly has a problem with it from his videos, as you can tell, so he should really have no problem debating on it. He thought this was acceptable and he agreed. Then, later on, nope, no good. He's going to change the subject to literally everything, or else he's going to make it look as if I am backing out of the debate and a coward. Thirdly, there was the title. I had to spend literally 20 minutes trying to inform Nephilim that the title of a debate simply can't be two nouns, like creation and evolution. It has to be a question or a proposition, some sort of statement that must be answered. He wasted half hour of my time, and yeah. So at this point I'm pretty fed up, and then today, there's the issue with the moderator. First he wants Shock of God to do it, but Shock of God clearly can't even handle his own radio program, let alone a formal debate. So that's simply out of the question. He tells me I can have anybody that I want as a moderator. So, I know somebody who's fairly well known, Thunderfoot. I suggest him. He can do it. Nephilim says no, because, and I quote, he stutters too much. So I suggest DPR Jones. This time I've wisened up and I get it in writing. Twice I get it in writing that Nephilim has agreed to have DPR Jones moderate the debate. He even included that in his own video. And then today, nope, no good. The debate will not go on if DPR Jones is moderator.
I did agree at first to change it, and then immediately messaged you right back and said, you know what, no, I'm not going to do that. It sounds to me like a game you're playing.
See, I'm really glad that you were dishonest and recorded that conversation without my knowledge, because I hadn't bothered to record it, and had it not been for your own stupidity, no one would have been able to hear you admit that you agreed to change the scope of the debate.
You can watch a progression of him slowly starting to realize how far gone Neph is. In the end, Dawn Exodus 2 was so frustrated by the inability to make any progress with NephilimFree, he decided to make a video laying out an ultimatum, deciding on the terms of the debate, and giving him a time and place to show up.
I say this just out of practicality. If we go and we spend the time ironing stuff out, and then you just go, oops, no, you know what, I changed my mind, and you know what, if you don't agree with it, you're screwed. Sorry, I don't have the time to do all that. What's the point in talking or arguing out anything if you're just going to go and change it? Since this proposal began, I have been very calm. I have given you nothing but respect and courtesy and honesty this entire time. I have let you choose the subject, the place, the format, the topic, the scope, everything. And you still throw it back in my face because that's not good enough. I don't tolerate this caliber of bullshit from actually accomplished people in my own life, let alone you over the internet. It's not going to happen anymore. Since you're too incompetent to agree with yourself on the details of the debate, I'm going to have to do it for you. First of all, the debate will be held Sunday, June 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my Blog TV channel. There'll be a link posted in the video description. Secondly, the subject will be evolution as it pertains to biology. And the reason for this is very simple. The topic of everything is simply too large to be covered in the time that we're allowed. It can't happen. You say that you want this professional debate, you know, like the one that you're trying to organize yet too inept to do so. Well, they don't have topics as large as everything. They don't even have topics as large as biology. In fact, the topic evolutionary biology is too big for a debate. So, that being said, I think that Darwin's theory of evolution is a decent topic for a debate. It's still a little too big for 2 hours, but you know what? If you want to go for it, you wanted a large topic, that's more than large enough for it. After all, as I've said before, you clearly have a problem with Darwin's theory of evolution, and consider yourself an expert on it to the point where you have no problem overruling every career scientist on the planet, so discussing this shouldn't be a problem at all for you.
NephilimFree is far too fat-headed and full of himself to let that go. No, no, no. If Nephi was any more full of himself, he'd collapse into a neutron star. He had the puff-up and posture, acting like the tough guy and putting on an air of superiority, all for a show for his friends and subscribers. You know, exactly what he accused Don Exodus 2 of doing. He posted a video reply with his own terms and ultimatum.
This is the last video I'm going to make on this subject of Don Exodus 2 and me debating before we debate or we don't debate.
A few moments later.
Whit, I just watched your latest video. You call me a schizophrenic and make all kind of accusations. Look, this is really simple. The terms are simple. You've been trying to twist this into something that for your personal agenda since day one. I don't have to deal with this, okay? I'm going to reiterate the simple terms. As I stated them in the beginning, with one exception, I'm allowing you to have an atheist evolutionist as the moderator. Okay? Shock of God's Blog Talk Radio, you agree that you will not broadcast anywhere but there during the debate. The moderator will be Dan Mill 23 if he agrees. I haven't received a response from him yet, but he might have been at work or something. He's agreed to do it. He's an atheist evolutionist. There's no reason on this earth you shouldn't agree to allowing him to be the moderator. The subject is creation and evolution, and anything directly related to therein. Okay? That's it. It's simple. You either want to do it or you don't. What I will expect from you is to make a video agreeing to those very simple terms by 6 o'clock Friday, or I consider the debate off because you're not willing to accept the simple terms of the debate. So stop all this banter. Let's just do it, okay? Head to head, you and me. Come on, you got what it takes? Then show me. Let's do it. Make a video agreeing to those simple terms, as I am making one now. I agree to those simple terms. Or I'll just find somebody else to debate, because you're not interested. You just want to play games and run circles.
Don Exodus 2, of course, never made such a video, so the debate was already conditionally cancelled by NephilimFree. As promised, Don Exodus 2 started a broadcast on Blog TV and began a show with Thunderfoot, D. Jones, Aaron Ra, and Andromeda's Wake. Neph did not show up, despite Don Exodus 2 and I poking him on Skype. A few of us also waited in the audience for Shock of God's Blog Talk Radio show. To our confusion and bemusement, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time came and went with no show. The show did not actually start until 4 p.m. Neph couldn't even get that right.
I don't know what debate you're going to, but I'm going to the debate that we agreed upon, which is Blog Talk Radio. That's where I'll be this Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Despite Don Exodus 2 having clearly stated where and when he would be, and having never made the video Neph demanded, Shock, Neph, and the Creationist calling in to talk with them all acted amused and surprised when Don Exodus 2 never called in. They acted as if he was still expected to show up on Blog Talk Radio and decided he must have chickened out.
And would someone please, if someone could please contact Don Exodus 2 on YouTube and tell him we're waiting for him. Now, Psalms, there's some people saying in the chat, it says, clearly Don Exodus 2 has backed out of the debate. He cannot defend the theory of evolution he believes in. So, I don't know.
Well, it's official. It's the first of the month. Don Exodus 2's second chance to debate me ran out at midnight last night.
NephilimFree and his friends sloppily tried to paint a picture of some sort of ulterior motives by Don Exodus 2. Depending on which of Nephi's videos you're watching, Don Exodus 2, being highly intimidated by NephilimFree's dizzying intellect,
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
either never had any intention of debating NephilimFree, and constantly changed the debate details in the hopes that the debate would fizzle out with everyone getting sick of it, or Dawn Exodus 2 planned to broadcast the debate on Blog TV while simultaneously holding a Skype call in order to use Skype to record his own audio isolated from NephilimFree's, so Dawn Exodus could dishonestly edit the two audio streams into a discontinuous compilation to make NephilimFree's responses seem different than they actually were.
What you want to do is you want to appear on Blog Talk TV and simultaneously on Blog Talk Radio. That way you can create a video multimedia presentation, and you can make videos for your channel in which I'm not heard, and you can make it look like, your assertions destroyed me in the debate.
Obviously, neither one of these possibilities makes any sense. Firstly, NephilimFree's own videos, including the Skype chats he recorded without Dawn Exodus 2's consent or knowledge, show that NephilimFree was the party who could not remain consistent with the debate details. Secondly, the plan was to co-host NephilimFree on Blog TV and include a Skype call with NephilimFree. This was done as a workaround to a flaw with Blog TV. Live streaming was in its infancy in 2010, and Blog TV had a latency issue between host and co-host. There was a delay ranging between 6 to 10 seconds between the two hosts, making conversations between the two parties awkward. Plus, there was no way to include a third participant in Blog TV, which was needed for the role of a moderator. The solution to this was to initiate a group Skype call during the broadcast. Even if Neph refused to appear on Blog TV or Skype, Dawn Exodus 2 would have included the entire audio of Shock's Blog Talk Radio broadcast. Obviously, there would be little point in watching if we could only hear Dawn Exodus 2. There would have been no audio source that did not include NephilimFree, and even if there were, the debate on Blog TV or Blog Talk Radio would have been recorded by multiple independent parties and automatically by Blog Talk Radio. Plus, in his own video, he acknowledges that he knows Dawn Exodus 2 was going to be on Blog TV during that time, but during the Blog Talk Radio show, NephilimFree lied and said that Dawn Exodus 2 agreed to call in the Shock show. However, Creationists have never been known for their logic and common sense, and they bought it, hook, line, and sinker.
But it just show to us the level in which evolutionists will go as far to just checking out of debates.
So that was a colossal cluster. However, it was not all a waste. Besides being quite amusing, it served as a launching platform to the League of Reason show, which later turned into the Magic Sandwich show. The show served as a medium to discuss skeptic topics live with an audience simultaneously with some of the best minds atheist YouTube had to offer, and drew an audience several magnitudes larger than Shock of God's Blog Talk Radio show ever did. Meanwhile, Nephi continued to try and revise history to make himself look like he came out on top. This only served to prove his dishonesty and unending incompetence. Remember when I said that NephilimFree had trouble telling apart Dawn Exodus 2 and Almighty Atheismo? Here's one such example that happened before the debate mess really started.
Is this person Almighty, whatever, is this Dawn?
Yes. Sorry, what?
Is this the person known as Dawn Exodus 2 on YouTube?
No, I'm not. As a matter of fact, we spoke before, and you thought that I was Dawn Exodus. No,
okay,
no.
I'm just asking because your voice sounds very similar to me. That's all.
Okay, that's fine.
So this was the second time that NephilimFree thought that Atheismo was Dawn Exodus 2. And despite being told that Dawn Exodus 2 was not in the call, Neph still put his name in the title of the video. Almighty Atheismo, QDragon1337, Thunderfoot, and I used to shoot the breeze in group Skype calls back in the day. Sometimes, just for fun, we would invite NephilimFree into the call. Long after the debate had come and gone, we would bring Nephi into our calls, and he would begin addressing Almighty Atheismo, talking about how he chickened out of their debate. Atheismo would again have to explain that he is not Dawn Exodus 2. This happened in multiple Skype calls over a period of months. You could tell that Atheismo was starting to lose his patience by then, as he said, "Once again, I am not Dawn Exodus 2. My name is Almighty Atheismo." And in case you weren't sure, this is what Dawn Exodus 2 sounds like.
Look, man, I don't know if you're honestly this stupid or if you're just possessed by a retarded ghost or something, but you really don't have any clue about how biology works.
And this is what Almighty Atheismo sounds like.
Do you find that nobody ever asks you to babysit their kids for them? Why do you think that is? For that matter, do you find that people of all age groups and all walks of life just avoid you in general?
Wow! I can't tell them apart! Being too incompetent to tell people apart is a recurring theme with NephilimFree. DPR Jones and I would sometimes be in calls together with NephilimFree, and he would still think that DPR was Thunderfoot. After NephilimFree won the 2010 Golden Crocoduck Award from Potholer54, NephilimFree responded to Potholer in the comments of that video, addressing Potholer as Thunderfoot. NephilimFree stumbled upon FS Atheist's Name and Shame series videos about him. Neph responded to him, also addressing FS Atheist as Thunderfoot.
The fact that he is also addressing me as if I am Thunderfoot is due to one of two possible scenarios. Either he doesn't have a clue and thinks that Thunderfoot and myself are one and the same person, or he is being a subscriber whore and even more dishonest by using Thunderfoot's name to try and collect more subscribers and view counts from people who are searching for Thunderfoot. Neither scenario is acceptable practice and further highlights the need to point out what this individual is up to.
As you can clearly see, I am not Thunderfoot.
Obviously, the most likely explanation is that there were 4 Thunderfoots on 3 continents at the same time. Unsurprisingly, the best source of proof for Neph's incompetence has always been NephilimFree himself. In 2016, NephilimFree, still under the delusion that he was both scientifically literate and even the slightest bit relevant, reinitiated contact with Aaron Ra, still pestering him to have a live debate.
Okay. I challenged him to a debate 9 years ago or so.
It had actually only been 6 years by that point. Nephi's inability to tell time strikes again. To explain Aaron Ra's reply, I have to take another trip down memory lane. In 2009, Andy Jack, also known as YouTube user Quack, an English taxi driver without any science education, posed several relatively simple and common questions to Aaron Ra.
Every molecule, every physical thing had to have a beginning. Now, I'm talking about going back before the so-called Big Bang, which most evolutionists seem to think that's where it all started from. So what I really like to know is what actually went bang?
Nothing. I don't mean there was nothing and then it went bang. I mean there was no bang. The name Big Bang was originally a derogatory term made up by those who prefer to believe in a steady-state universe, and it was meant to criticize the idea of a cosmic expansion from a singularity. The problem I have with this is that much of it can only be indicated mathematically, but it is also undeniably evident, which is why a lot of other people have problems with it too. It's really difficult for common folk with no prior knowledge of any of this to understand what a singularity is. I doubt if I understand what it is. But I know it isn't simply material like you thought it was.
Aaron initially believed that Andy was just uninformed, more deceived rather than a deceiver. Aaron Ra thought that he could engage with Andy, get him to understand some commonly misunderstood concepts, and possibly convince Andy to give up his creationist beliefs. However, every time Aaron Ra would answer a question, Andy would ignore the answer and just ask the question again.
Now, if I left this container for 20 billion years and then I came back to observe what was in there, would I find nothing, or would I find life and New York City and everything we see on the planet today, and all the stars and everything we observe out there somewhere?
This is the same question I just answered for you. Now, I said that the singularity was insanely hot, so how did you hear that it was bitterly cold? I said it was made of matter, energy, time, space, and literally everything else. So how did you take absolutely everything to mean absolutely nothing? I said it was a super dense ball of material energy wherein even space around it were compressed into a single unit of absolute volume. So how did you interpret that to mean that it should be a vacuum?
Finally, Andy started obviously trying to misunderstand science as much as he could, and it became apparent that he would rather lie and obfuscate than reevaluate his beliefs.
How did the eye evolve? Were we bumping around this planet, around the bushes, the forests, or whatever, like the plains, for millions of years, waiting for the eye to evolve? How did we get away from man-eating animals? Did we have some kind of protection up here to protect the development of the eye, so that we wouldn't poke ourselves with sticks and things and fall down and keep cracking our heads on rocks or whatever like. So if you could just explain the evolution of the eyeball, because that is so very, very important to us. What was the eyeball before it was, or what it is now?
Do you actually believe that any evolutionary scientist ever believed that we were ever human before we had eyes? I can't tell you how disappointed I am by your reply. I don't think anybody could misunderstand evolution so badly, no matter how stupid they're consciously trying to be. And if you're going to be deliberately obtuse like this, then I've no more patience for you. This is why I say that you can't defend creationism intelligently or honestly. You're not the only one that gets hate mail either. I get hundreds of emails a day, a lot of it from Christians who tell me that I shouldn't debate people like you or Gear Up or Ray Comfort because creationism, they say, does not represent mainstream Christianity. But even creationists tell me that everyone I might point at and think that I'd like to debate that person is too stupid to represent real creationism. I've been accused by your own peers of selecting you as the worst possible example to exploit to make creationists seem dumber than they are. The questions that you've asked me now are so dumb that I realize that even other creationists are embarrassed, because you know what they're emailing me and saying about you? This.
It's an absolute embarrassment to me, and people see that, and it indeed puts people off. It's a circus act, and that's where it belongs, that form of Christianity.
That's why I'm calling this debate off. You have no interest in having an honest discussion, and obviously didn't even watch the video I made for you specifically. Neither will I accept any subsequent challenges from any other ignorant ass out there who pretends to know or care about truth. I'll tell you what I will do, though. Since so many Christians have accused me of debating only morons in order to make myself look better, I've got a suggestion for you creationists. Nominate someone whom you all agree can and will adequately present the creationist collective position and trot him on out here. We'll follow a simple format of very few questions at the end of each reply, 5 or less, please, preceded by appropriate responses to the preceding post. Prove to me there is someone out there that can present an adequate case without listing an embarrassing string of obvious errors or deliberate lies, because I don't think it is even possible to find a credible creationist, nor one who could present a case intelligently, logically, or honestly.
As a result of Aaron Ra's frustration and the blowback from other creationists, Aaron Ra decided to set some ground rules in order for a creationist to challenge him to a debate. These conditions would allow Aaron Ra to only face off against the best that creationism has to offer, and would avoid accusations of only going after low-hanging fruit. One cannot nominate themselves, and they must be nominated by multiple creationists or a creationist organization. Back in 2016, after expressing his incredulity that NephilimFree was still around, and still thinking of himself as having the slightest amount of intellectual credibility, Aaron Ra explained why he would not debate with NephilimFree, described the only conditions in which he would debate him, and explained why no one would ever nominate him to represent them in a public debate. In a dazzling display of ineptitude, psychological projection, and general ass backwardness, NephilimFree showed how arrogant and out of touch he is by saying that Aaron Ra is a nobody who he has not heard of in about 7 years. Most hilariously, he believed that Aaron's refusal to debate Neph somehow destroyed Aaron's reputation and credibility. Apparently completely unaware of Aaron Ra's video series, speaking engagements around the world, and the Phylogeny Explorer project. Aaron Ra again made it clear why he would never debate NephilimFree. After Neph obviously ignored the video he sent him, Aaron Ra, showing far more charity than Neph deserves, spelled out his debate criteria and explained why no creationist organization would ever nominate NephilimFree to represent them, and if Aaron Ra were to accept NephilimFree's self-nomination, debating a random nobody as ignorant and possibly mentally handicapped as him would only make Aaron Ra seem like a bully who is picking on a weaker opponent. Obviously, I can never be afraid of you. I understand you're delusional and narcissistic and you have to lie to yourself this way. But of course we both know that the real situation is that you don't meet the minimum requirements laid out in the link that you apparently ignored. No organizer would ever arrange or promote or even consider such a debate because no group of people, however small, would nominate you to represent them in a debate with me. That's your failure, not mine. Were I to debate under any other circumstances, I would be seen as abusing the handicapped. As Neff continued to insult and goad Aaron Ra, they went back and forth over these points for a while, but like I said at the end of chapter 2, he is incapable of understanding how any of these points are connected and instead treats them as separate inconsistent excuses. Remember, he is the one that posted these screenshots. He actually thinks this makes him look good. Lastly, even the basic courtesies of operating in an online media escape him. I already covered how NephilimFree's videos are needlessly long and rambly.
So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time.
But he also seems incapable of editing or using complicated features such as spell check.
Hey folks, two things I want to show you. Check this out. Hey folks, two things I want to show you.
That's some great editing work there. The capitalization and spelling of his video titles are frequently off, and back when YouTube displayed video tags, his were constantly full of spelling errors.
Not only is he ignorant of biology and genetics, he also lacks any proficiency in spelling, and lacks the technical know-how to use this recent innovation called spell check. Or perhaps I'm wrong and he wants to make sure that his creationist chorus can find his videos. I imagine they're doing keyword searches for frequent, genetic, phylogenics, or philology, assuming they're also obtuse enough to believe that autism is a belief in oughts. Thanks for watching.
Chapter 4. When you're used to being dishonest, you can even lie to yourself. There is a very good reason why this series is titled Typical Creationist Liar. There are many creationists in the world who never do any research, never speak to anyone educated in science, and have been brainwashed since childhood by wealthy religious groups. These are the innocently deceived followers. I look at them as objects of pity, but they are not necessarily dishonest. Unfortunately, when faced with actual science, most creationists are unwilling to change their beliefs. Such individuals employ all sorts of defense mechanisms to avoid having to reevaluate things they believe. Usually they will resort to simply avoiding any contradictory beliefs.
As for you, Satan, I censor the comments, so there's nothing you can do. You might as well give up.
Those that go out of their way to interact with non-reality deniers must use even more dishonest tactics to avoid admitting they are wrong.
And all through the fossil record and life, we don't find one of these. A crocodile.
NephilimFree has turned these tactics into a lifestyle. As I have previously stated, NephilimFree is incapable of comprehending how a body of evidence built up by multiple fields correlates into a well-supported conclusion, free of any bias or dogma.
Evolutionists apply dark matter to cosmic evolution just like they do gaps in the fossil record. The nature of the fossil record is nothing but gap, by the way. That's why they invent punctuated equilibrium, to explain away the fact that the fossil record does not demonstrate any transition of one kind of creature into another. They created another filler.
He cannot see how taxonomy, genetics, and paleontology all independently demonstrate the same connections. Instead, NephilimFree deploys a divide and conquer technique in which he misunderstands one scientific point, finds some excuse to dismiss it, and then moves on to the next one. One of the most hypocritical examples of this I witnessed personally. When discussing the evolutionary link between humans and other apes, I brought up something I picked up from Aaron Ra, the existence of several non-functional ape genes that produce proteins in all great apes. However, when I informed NephilimFree that these genes in humans have been modified in such a way that they produce proteins that are useless and have no function, NephilimFree immediately dismissed that by saying, "that we know of." You will find this hilariously ironic when I describe his interpretation of the dark matter hypothesis. But even if we did somehow discover that these proteins still had a use in us, it would not change the fact that they are modified versions of proteins that create sagittal crests and stronger jaw muscles in other apes. He's also very well known for his psychological projection.
You know, they invented dark matter a long time ago to plug the holes in their early Big Bang theories, and they've been applying it as a fixer, a filler to all the holes in all their secular theories ever since, you know, to try to argue away from creation. Now, I've cut out most of this guy's video because, you know, for the first 10 minutes of it, it's nothing but a long diatribe of complaint and personal insults. That's how evolutionists and atheists work. First and foremost, insult the person, the creationist, because they can't refute what they say. So, try to belittle them and intimidate them.
NephilimFree loves nothing more than pretending that real scientists and people like us are terrified of him and are desperate to find ways to explain away things that do not fit into our beliefs. He even thinks that NASA retracted a video they posted because of Neff's video.
I used that video in one of my videos to demonstrate that the Hawaiian Islands are not older because of, that their erosion of the northernmost Hawaiian Islands is not due to age, but to ocean current patterns. And some evolutionist emailed them, and guess what NASA has done? They've removed the video.
Neff, I still don't understand. Could you show us through some kind of play acting, a skit, if you will, how this conspiracy might unfold?
They get on the phone, hey Bob get the admin for the website, tell him that animation for the Hawaiian Island ocean currents, through the months of June through through January of 2006, delete those.
Who is this?
That's what happens.
This is another common theme for NephilimFree. He has, at best, the simplest, most childlike understanding of basic scientific principles, and he finds any attempt at explaining why those simplistic models don't always hold true to be a desperate evolutionist excuse or hole filling.
So how do they explain away the fact that the galaxies are spinning 10 times too fast, that the inside of a galaxy is spinning slower than the outside of it? How do they explain that away? Oh, dark matter, of course. Let's just invent something called dark matter, a filler, and say, oh, that does it. That's why. Because there's dark matter there. Oh, we can't see it. We can't detect it. We've been trying. We've got all kinds of multi-millions of dollars worth of equipment seeking that little bit of dark matter. We're trying to find one, just a little particle of it somewhere in the universe. We can't find it. Can't see it. Can't detect it. But it's there. Trust me. Have faith in us because we're evil gurus. Have faith in what we say. It's there.
This is extremely hypocritical of him because he's always trying to find excuses to dismiss anything his critics say, such as when we told him that water won't freeze this close to the sun, he said that, well, Noah's flood must have happened during a lunar eclipse. NephilimFree Typical Creationist Liar 7 was a response to his claims that dark matter is something made up without evidence to explain away the motion of galaxies.
The outside of galaxies is spinning faster than the inside. This completely defies physics.
Oh, what the hell are you babbling about now? Galactic rotation defies physics? How could the universe defy physics? Physics is the study of the nature of the universe. So are you saying that the universe is defying itself? The statement has no meaning. It is a contradiction in terms.
He believes that scientists are so backed into a corner by this mystery that they desperately came up with the dark matter hypothesis as an excuse, because the only other solution would be...
Why does the outside of a galaxy spin 10 times too fast? Faster than its inside? When gravity and physics tells us this cannot be? Because it's the hand of God that operates it.
Yeah, Neff is partially correct in his use of the term hole filler, but not in the way he thinks. Neff attempts to poison the well by describing the dark matter hypothesis, again by projecting his own faults of his own faith onto cosmologists.
Secular pseudoscience and evolutionism at their very best. Hey, it doesn't exist, but we gotta have it, so let's invent it. Because, hey, there can't be such thing as God, right?
His attempt falls on its face because, unknown to NephilimFree, dark matter is not treated as an unassailable declaration that definitely exists. The entire reason it is called dark matter is because its properties are unknown and its existence is not confirmed. While experiments to detect it have not yet succeeded, if it exists, there are properties it would have to have based on its apparent influence. It must be spread smoothly throughout the universe, concentrated in higher locations where traditional matter is also concentrated, and it does not react with electromagnetic radiation as baryonic matter does. It is not even the only hypothesis, it is just the most widely accepted one, If no test or experiment ever yields any result and a better explanation for the observations is derived, then the dark matter hypothesis will be freely regulated to the dustbin of history by cosmologists, not creationists. What NephilimFree thinks we should do when we see something unexplained is to say, "Whoa, what the? That observation does not fit our expectations. Well, I guess God went and did it. All right, everyone, back it up. Back it up. God done it. Hey, put that down, asshole. I said God done it." His extremely basic understanding of chemistry and physics also falls below the level of a 6th grader. He does not understand that a seismographic image displaying water incorporated into the mantle is not showing giant pools of water trapped in rock wrapped around the core of the Earth, and does not understand that the boiling point of a liquid is dependent on pressure.
For decades upon decades, evolutionists have been claiming that material is either molten or semi-molten, exceeding 1600 degrees at the boundary with the crust of the Earth.
No, Mr. Creationist, that would be geologists and seismologists, actually.
Do you see the big yellow area wrapped around the outer core of the Earth? You know what that is? That's water.
No, it's not water. It contains water. 1 part in 500 at the most.
Trapped in stone, lying against what is claimed to be thousands of degrees in temperature.
Someone needs to calm down.
Of course, this is impossible because in this world, water boils at 212 degrees.
This creationist has no knowledge of how pressure systems work. Increasing pressure of a system increases the temperature at which any substance will boil off.
And of course, this is evidence of an evil evolution conspiracy theory.
They found that the plates of the Earth on which the continents rest are sitting on water, not magma.
This is yet another outright lie. The creationist is one of the worst bullshit artists I have ever come across. According to this creationist, volcanoes don't erupt with magma. They don't eject lava flows. No, apparently they eject water.
But you see, their seismographic images, they actually removed the core. They got some information. They removed it.
Yep. He still thinks playing the evil evolutionist conspiracy card is going to work. Unfortunately for him, it doesn't.
So, NephilimFree is completely ignorant of how the peer review process works and believes in a grand worldwide secular conspiracy against creationism. This surprises no one. However, his favorite dishonest tactic to perform when speaking live to atheists is the Gish Gallop. As I stated before, during the attempted debate between NephilimFree and Dawn Exodus 2, Neph refused to allow the debate topic to be narrowed down to a specific question on a specific topic, and instead preferred to make the debate a free-for-all on whatever subject NephilimFree can think of. The reason he wanted to do this is probably because he, like all creationists who want to debate with an actual scientist, wants to be able to topic jump to try and pile up so many claims, so much bullcrap that his opponent has no chance of correcting everything without several hours of extra time and access to Google. Creationists are capable of telling more lies in a sentence than there are words in the same sentence. It is a defense mechanism they use to make it seem like they had a valid point because the secular opponent was unable to respond to it on the fly. When creationists ask questions, they do not actually want an answer. What they want to do is ask a question or make a claim, interrupt when you have a response, and make another claim, and keep going until they find something you cannot answer, and then declare victory. So since Dawn Exodus 2 has an expertise in biology, NephilimFree would try and steer the discussion towards something like cosmology, something Dawn Exodus 2 does not know much about. Granted, NephilimFree knows nothing about it either, but his strategy might prove somewhat effective in finding something Dawn Exodus 2 could not explain offhand. This example perfectly illustrates what trying to discuss something with NephilimFree is like. In his 2013 appearance on The Lying Ghost Show, he was asked this question.
Can you give me some of the reasons why you think the Earth is 6,000 years old? I forget the exact number. Around 6,000 years old rather than billions of years old.
Now, listen to how many different topics NephilimFree rapid fires in his response.
Well, I could name perhaps over 100 of them. DNA in ancient fossils, Lazarus bacteria, dinosaur blood vessels and proteins discovered in dinosaur fossils, unfossilized dinosaur bones, living fossils, the rate of the decay of the Earth's magnetic field, the rate at which the coasts of the continents of the Earth are eroding into the sea, the rate at which the continental material is eroding into the sea, the amount of sedimentary material found in the ocean floors, the fact that we find dinosaurs and complete fossils of crustaceans and fish in chalk, which is claimed to form at a rate of 1 to 2 inches per 1,000 years, and about 80 other reasons.
Each of these are topics that can take up an entire discussion. R.N. Raj tried to tell NephilimFree that the story of unfossilized dinosaur blood vessels is false, but he refused to accept it, like he always does. The discussion went on like this, where NephilimFree would jump from topics like dinosaurs to philosophy to speed of light to the shape of galaxies, dark matter.
Help me out with something, Neff. I got a quick question for you, Neff.
Hold on, please let me finish.
What is the nearest of these spiral galaxies to us?
The problem.
I have to ask how we got from dating to spiral galaxies.
Hang on, guys, hang on.
The ironic thing is, NephilimFree accuses atheists of doing the exact same thing.
Where they can gang up on me in a group, right? And I won't get a word in edgewise, right? And all they'll do is blather off that I'm an idiot and I don't understand science, and I won't get the chance to hardly speak at all. So my point will be muffled and covered over by all the atheists that are attacking everything I say, see? That's the kind of game he wants to set up. And then he thinks he can claim victory and say, oh, NephilimFree didn't prove his point, so I'm not going to debate him.
He also tends to get very butthurt whenever his mindless ramblings are cut off and will rage quit when this happens.
But I gotta call BS when I see it, and right now I'm calling BS on you. If you're wrong about, hang on, Neff. See, you're doing it again. If you're wrong about something, and what you're wrong on, if you pass the you're wrong gate and you just keep going on and on and on and on, eventually, hang on, Neff. Eventually, the conversation, Neff. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
No,
I haven't spoken this.
Someone is allowed to make an assertion. We don't interrupt each other just because we don't agree with the assertion. That's the atheist means of debate, and it's not worth my time. So thank you for your time.
And you're demonstrating it again, Neff.
Yes, you're demonstrating again. When I see BS, I'm going to hang up on it. End of it.
He's gone now.
The thing is, and I'm sure you'll be absolutely shocked to hear this.
I am shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
He does this constantly.
But how many times was I trying to drag him back to claim about only theism provides inherent value to the universe? I tried about 5 times to drag him back to that topic, and he moved on immediately without letting anyone respond to talk for 90 more seconds about is atheism true, which had nothing to do with what we were talking about.
The problem is, interrupting NephilimFree is an act of necessity, and was done so by the moderator of the Lion Ghost Show to contain the scope of the discussion to one thing at a time. Furthermore, NephilimFree frequently starts off his diatribe by asserting something demonstrably false. Naturally, one would want to correct such a glaring error.
What is the point of hearing his long-winded conclusion if the very premise it's based on is false? What right does he have to waste our time making us listen to something we already know is wrong from the very first sentence?
If you base your conclusion on a false premise, there's no need to wait the whole 90 seconds.
Right.
When you, for example, when you start talking about describing some other completely different thing than that, I don't need to sit there and listen to 90 seconds of you not knowing what you're talking about. When you started out, making claims like, when you start out making claims like that there was unfossilized dinosaur blood, and we know that there was not ever, and I've studied this in depth, and I know it for certain that you're wrong, I can say that you're wrong, and I can call you out, and I can challenge you.
Unfortunately, he will not listen to corrections because he is totally convinced of the accuracy of his childish misunderstandings of science. He will simply declare your correction as not science. The stars on Orion's belt aren't gravitationally bound? Not science. Multiple human species existing at the same time? Not science. The nozzle size does not increase the distance of water traveled?
I want to show you how anti-science, non-scientific, and utterly stupid the average evolutionist, God-denialist atheist on YouTube really is.
Speaking of NephilimFree's nozzle nonsense, this brings up another common problem with NephilimFree. He is too much of a coward to admit he does not know something. When he picks up something new, He pretends like he knew it all along.
Have you ever heard of a phenomenon called time dilation, Brian?
Sure.
No, you haven't.
NephilimFree had never heard of Bernoulli's theorem until he saw Osmeroid's video explaining it to him. Neff then tried to fudge this into his model, unsuccessfully of course. In the comment board for Osmeroid's video, I replied to NephilimFree describing how Osmeroid's satirized version of NephilimFree's model ignores the viscosity of water. NephilimFree proceeded to insult me and then came up on the spot with some ad hoc justification to use superfluidity. The superfluid characteristic of the water would only make it flow faster through the atmosphere, helping it to reach outer space quicker. The outside of the water column would move slower, whilst the inside would move far faster, as if the water were shooting through a pipe made of itself. Congratulations, you just provided another piece of science that helps us see how the water could reach outer space as a column and do precisely what it did. Good job, sport. Slow down there, sporty. Water is never a superfluid. It would not pass through itself like a frictionless pipe, because water has a viscosity and does not magically separate itself into frictionless layers. Even if water was a superfluid, all that would do is get the water closer to the maximum height of 24 miles. While NephilimFree acts like these are his own ideas, he never used viscosity or superfluids in any of his arguments until I described them to him. As a side note, I cannot believe I forgot about this for 9 years, but I actually intentionally used an incorrect term to see if he picked up on it. A zero viscosity fluid, be it in a gaseous or liquid state, is always referred to as a superfluid. I decided to call it a superliquid to see if Neff would catch that mistake. But not only did Neff not say anything about it, he proceeded to use that term himself in his own videos.
But the inside of the column of water wouldn't have been affected this way, and it would have passed through itself like a pipe, at supersonic speeds, like a superliquid, and shot straight through the atmosphere of the Earth into outer space.
So, not only did he not pick up on my fake word, but he also apparently completely misunderstood the point of my comment and thought that water could actually be a superfluid. The nozzle-sized justification was not even Neff's own idea. He got it from the creationist known as Debate Crusher. Correcting his mistakes and reading comprehension are also beneath him. In 2011, NephilimFree sent a long-winded letter to Dr. Kenneth Miller stating a variety of his usual claptrap, including this line: 80% of our proteins do not exist in apes. This comes from a misunderstanding of this article. If NephilimFree had bothered to read more than the title, he would have learned that nearly all of the proteins that exist in the other great apes also exist in us and perform the same functions. Where 80% of them differ is in a few amino acid alterations, out of hundreds or thousands, that make them identifiable as being from a different species, but do not change their function within our bodies. Dr. Miller took the time to correct Neff's misquotes and misunderstandings, including informing him that a few amino acid changes are inconsequential and expected after a few million years of genetic separation, and certainly does not support his claim that 80% of ape proteins do not exist in humans. Did NephilimFree learn from his mistake? No, of course not. A few months later, he said the same thing to Concordance, who replied with the same correction.
Similarities in, say, for example, proteins from one kind of life don't provide evidence that that organism is related to another. For example, 80% of the proteins in human beings are different from those of any ape. Where's your phylogenetics related to molecular similarities there? See, if human beings were closely related to apes by a common ancestor, instead of 80% of our proteins being different from any ape, we should have 80% exactly the same proteins. 80% of the human proteins should be found in apes, but that's the opposite of the truth. So you see, your idea is completely bogus.
This is particularly stupid. He's referring to a paper in the journal Gene by a group at Penn State. The title is 80% of proteins are different between humans and chimpanzees. Hey, if all you ever read was the title of the article, you might make the same leap old Nephi is making. However, if you actually read the article, you'd see that they're saying that 80% of proteins differ by at least one amino acid between chimps and humans. In certain key proteins, like cell signaling components, 45% of the human proteins tested had an identical protein sequence to chimps. There is no way to tell them apart between chimp and human. If we allow for a 99% sequence match that is nearly identical, the number goes up to 53%.
Was a second scientist explaining the same thing enough for Neff to get a clue? Of course not.
This is the kind of intellect we deal with when we deal with evolutionists. I stated in my video that 80% of the proteins in humans are different from those of apes. And he cites a scientific paper that states that very thing, and then tries to argue against it. A protein is a specified complexity. It's a chain of amino acids that superfold into a specific protein. A difference of a single amino acid, or E5 or 3, yields a different structure, and it's a different protein. It's not variable, it's not random. It's specified, specific complexity.
NephilimFree also loves to quote mine, so much so that he has bragged to me about having archives of out-of-context quotes that he can copy and paste as if they prove anything. His quotes originate from people I have never heard of, from sources he does not provide. He refuses to divulge his sources. He considers asking him to provide sources as us having him do our homework for us, because he does not understand that providing sources is a point of academic honesty. He may not even know the publicized source for some of these quotes, which may be why he misunderstands them so badly. Like most creationists, when he believes he has found a secular quote that supports his position, he believes it is the smoking gun required to throw out the mountain of evidence that proves him wrong. Even when you can show how his quote does not say what he thinks it says and actually comes from a research paper that proves him wrong, he will still keep using that same quote. He also constantly copies and pastes the same easily disprovable comments over and over again. Hey, at least he has made being stupid and dishonest more efficient. NephilimFree may not even realize how dishonest he is being with these tactics because he does not know any other way. He has been at this so long and with varying degrees of success, he may actually have deluded himself into believing that these strategies are brilliant heavyweight intellectual debate tactics that make him seem intelligent. However, his tendency to steal other people's points and pass them off as his own is undeniably dishonest.
Alright guys, only a couple of chapters left, we're almost through this. Wait, what the hell is with that music? Oh no. Oh no! 3 part done!